All right, everybody, let's get started. Welcome to today's webinar. This is a historic occasion because it is the first webinar we have done as Conversa, as part of our Conversa webinar series. So, as you probably know or may know, we rebranded from Log My Calls to Conversa about 3 weeks ago. And that was a big change for our customers. It was a big change for the people who knew us as Log My Calls. Now, we had done about 250 webinars as Log My Calls. We generally do 2 a week, Wednesday and Thursdays at 2 Eastern. And so we thought, you know what, let's get started again with the webinars. And we've got a great lineup planned for the summer. And we'll have them every Wednesday and Thursday, unless that Wednesday and Thursday is a major holiday. So we'll be here every day you are on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So our first presenter on the Conversa webinar series is Michael Fleischner. He's a longtime SEO consultant and expert. He's written best-selling books, appeared on the Today Show and other media outlets. He's right now the VP of Marketing at Caliper. He's based in New Jersey. So we'll introduce him in a moment. But first, just a little bit of background on who we are and what we do and why we do these webinars. So first, who are we? Conversa is a company that helps you optimize calls like you currently optimize clicks. So we provide basic call tracking. We also provide call analysis. We analyze calls with voice recognition technology, and then we pull out data, things like lead score, whether or not the call resulted in revenue, an appointment, a reservation, whatever your goal is. And then we can actually send that data to third-party systems like bid management solutions to help you optimize your campaigns in real time. For example, if you see the campaign is producing calls that have really high leads compared to others that maybe aren't producing calls that have really high leads, we can actually automatically increase or decrease your bidding and your spend on those specific campaigns. So that's what we do. Second question people ask is, why do we do these webinars? We have marketing experts from a variety of different disciplines within marketing. Number one is it's just a really great, useful way to provide incredible content to you. We record the webinars so you can access them after the fact. And then the second reason is, honestly, we just like getting in front of new people. And so when someone like Michael Fleischner says he'll speak on a webinar, that's going to get a unique audience to that webinar who maybe haven't heard about Conversa before. So that's why we do it. Two more quick items, and then we'll turn it over to Michael. Number one, I just want to find out where people are calling in from today. So in the questions area, please type in where you're calling in from today. As I said, I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. That's where Conversa is headquartered. We also have offices in Southern California, and Michael, I believe, is in New Jersey. And so we're spread out all over the place. So we've got people typing in today. We've got Illinois, we've got Winnipeg, Chicago, San Diego, Toronto, Arizona, PA, Denver, another Pennsylvania, Lebanon, New Hampshire. Dan Evans is in Lebanon, New Hampshire, which is a beautiful place. I've been there. I've lived there. Sarasota, Florida, Dallas, New York, New Jersey, Chicago, Providence. My goodness, we're all over the map. So that's great. We have several hundred people on the webinar today. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to turn it over to Michael. He's going to give us a presentation for about 40 to 45 minutes. Then we're going to open it up for Q&A for about 15 to 20 minutes after that. So you then can ask any questions you want. Feel free to type them into the question bar right there. I will then read those to Michael, and he can address those, and I may throw in my 2 cents if it's appropriate. So with that being said, I'm going to make Mr. Fleischner the presenter. And Michael, thanks for joining us. How many webinars have you done with us? I guess we were Log My Calls before, obviously, but how many webinars have you done with us now, sir?
So I think it's got to be maybe 3 or 4 at this point, McKay.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's 3 or 4. So thanks for doing it, man. We appreciate it, and thanks for being the first one on the Conversa webinar series, and we'll have you again later in the summer as well. So Mike, thanks, man. We appreciate it. So go ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, McKay, and welcome to everybody who's tuning in. I'm really excited to be talking to you today about Google. Marketing online is what I do, and I think that you'll get a lot out of this presentation. McKay did mention that there will be a chance at the end to ask some questions, and quite honestly, the Q&A, which is something that I used to not, when I listened to other speakers, I would say, I don't know if I'm going to get value from that. But I think you would agree, McKay, just based on our last few webinars together, that's where some of the best questions and information is really shared. So I encourage everybody to stay to the end. And we're going to go ahead and dive right in. But before I do want to thank Conversa as well as McKay Allen for inviting me to speak today. So, all right, so let's jump in. The title of this webinar is 7 Things Google is Hiding from You. And the proposition I'm putting out there today is that I'm going to show you how to instantly drive more organic traffic to your website or blog without playing a guessing game. One of the challenges with SEO is that every day or every week, certainly every month, you're hearing about something changing in SEO. Either Google is making an algorithm update or change, or most recently you heard mobile get-in and sites had to be mobile ready, so on and so forth. And for most people, it is a guessing game. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you today a number of things that will take some of the guesswork out of it and make SEO very applicable for your business. Now, if you stay to the end, I do have a great resource for you that's 100% free that you can go to that will help you get answers for a lot of your SEO questions. So I will share that with all of those who stay until the end of the presentation, and I think you will find it very helpful. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. Who am I? McKay, as always, did a great intro, but here's why I want you to kind of put your phones away and stop multitasking at your desk, because I know that's something I tend to do, and listen to really some of these SEO strategies. The first is, I basically wrote the book on SEO, and that's not to self-aggrandize. It's to let you know that I've been doing this for a pretty long time, and I've learned a lot of stuff, and my intent is to share a lot of that with you today. And SEO Made Simple, by the way, will be in its 5th edition. We've sold a little more than 30,000 copies. Also, I did website optimization for some top agencies. What you may not know is some of the world's leading agencies, digital agencies who offer SEO, don't do their own SEO. They actually outsource it to consultants and other people who are experts in that area. So in addition to that, I've done SEO for some leading organizations, leading companies. Obviously, I can't disclose a full list, but that's a bit of my background. And a lot of these companies that we've done some SEO work for, just from organic traffic alone, they're earning well over 7 figures. So if you don't know or don't think that organic traffic is where it's at and SEO is dead and there's really no value in SEO, I would argue the contrary. And of course, having all this exposure, working across multiple industries for different types of companies, I've done a lot of things right. And one of those things has been really keeping up with the Google algorithm and the importance of organic search. But of course, I've also done a lot of things wrong. And what's interesting is a lot of people have fear when it comes to SEO and approaching this idea of generating organic traffic. And I'm the first to admit that I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. And those mistakes are how I learned basically what works and what doesn't. So my message to you is don't be afraid to do things wrong. In fact, I encourage it. If you're not doing things incorrectly, it means you're not doing anything. And it is those mistakes that you're going to learn from, and that's the key with SEO. With SEO, a lot of it, especially if you're kind of a do-it-yourselfer, is trial and error. And today I'm going to try to shorten that cycle so you yourself do not have to go through doing all the wrong things, but focusing on some of the right things. Now, after doing this for over a decade, there are a couple of key takeaways that I've had, some things that I've learned that I want to share with you before we get into some of the specifics of how you can optimize your own website or blog or whatever the case might be. And personally, I just love this photo of the used car salesperson. It's so apropos because everybody and their uncle want to sell you the latest digital optimization or digital marketing strategy or, online do-it-yourself tool when, in fact, it really takes people who have expertise or software that's well adopted and used that have analytics behind it that really show value. So the first is that nothing converts like organic traffic, and we're going to talk about this in a little greater detail, but the reality is you could try everything you want in marketing from a digital perspective, from an online perspective, and nothing converts like organic traffic. And that organic could be everything from search results on any of the major search engines to somebody picking up the phone or a face-to-face referral. Nothing beats organic. There are simple things you can do to any organic program to get what we call lift or improvement, and I'm actually going to be covering some of these, but it doesn't have to be a complicated, expensive solution to improve your organic results. In fact, some of these small tweaks that you can make to your website or content can go a really long way. And the last thing is that you can optimize your site without feeling like a newbie. One of the biggest complaints I get from people is when it comes to SEO, they either don't know what they're doing or they just find it overwhelming and difficult. And I'm here to show you some things that will simplify it for you and help you get started on the road to higher rankings. Oh, and finally, you can plug organic into any business. So this is the other thing that I think is really important. When you look at other marketing strategies, some work better for certain businesses over others. The reality is any business can benefit from organic. I don't care if you're running a small wellness center in a little town in the middle of Ohio, or you're running a Fortune 500 company that crosses borders. Organic search is important both from a lead generation perspective as well as a branding perspective. Okay, most people think there's an easy way to do this, to dominate the web, and they don't necessarily differentiate between organic and paid. So I want to talk about that just a little bit. So people think, hey, all I have to do well online is to go ahead and buy these ads. And for those of you who are familiar with Google AdWords, you can see the little ad symbol to the left of the top three, and on the right, I know it doesn't say ads next to each one, but that whole column on the right, those are paid ads. And we're not going to be talking about pay-per-click marketing today, but a lot of people think, well, if it's all about page one dominance, I'll just buy all of these ads. And of course, they say marketing, nailed it, right? It's really easy to do. But there's a problem with that, and the problem is that only 18% of clicks on search engines go to these results. 18%. And I've seen the number as low as 14%. So the reason I share that with you is because, you know, some people think, oh, well, I can buy my way to traffic. But again, there's a difference between organic traffic and paid traffic in terms of the value. And the reality is that the paid traffic is such a small percentage of the overall that it doesn't get you as far, right? So the reality is 82% of clicks, of page one Google clicks, and by the way, it's reported that 90% of people never go past the first page of Google. But 82% of the clicks are on organic results. And that's why I continue to focus on organic. Other people have other specialties. Mine is trying to make sure the right website shows up in that organic area. All right.
Hey, Michael.
So, yeah.
Sorry, let me interrupt you. For the attendees, if there's any issues with this, with the slides, if you're not seeing them, or if the audio is bad at all, would you just type that into the question area? I think we're okay. I just wanted to make sure. So, Michael, keep going, and if there's any issues, I'll address those individually. I just wanted to say it. So, thanks, Michael. Sorry about that.
Okay, great. Thanks, McKay. All right, so how can we dominate Google, right? Hopefully at this point you understand the importance of organic search, what it is, where it shows up. What are some strategies? What are some simple strategies that we can deploy to help you improve your organic results without feeling like a newbie or feeling like this is difficult? All right? Okay, so let's kind of explain the framework, because if you understand the framework of what we do and how we do it, this will put you head and shoulders above other people who are doing business online. And it all starts with really where we came from. If you guys are involved in marketing, at least broad scope marketing like I am, we know that everything used to be channel specific. So for example, if you were focused on organic search, you would try to optimize your web pages both on the site and off the site. If you were a social media expert, you'd be focused on specific channels like Facebook, Twitter, etc., and you'd look to grow your following. On paid search, you might be focused on developing intricate campaigns and looking at quality score and managing your spend and click-through rates and conversions. You know, email was very similar, right? How big is your list? What's the quality of list? What are your open and click-through rates? from a brand perspective, what is the overall sentiment of your brand? Who are you reaching? How are you reaching them? As well as offline and word-of-mouth marketing. And this is how we looked at optimization and marketing in general for a very long period of time. And essentially, each channel contributed individually to the whole, meaning that if you had an organic search program, you were focused on optimizing your site, if you had a social media program where you were, posting to Facebook and Twitter, and you were doing paid search, then you really had a 3x reach, because each of those channels worked in their own individual silos. Now, this has all changed, and largely it has changed because of technology, because of search, because of multiple platforms, but many marketers quickly realize that if they can combine and integrate those channels, they get what we call lift. And the lift is that paid search may be feeding the social program. What you're doing on social media may be feeding your organic program. What you're doing organically or on your website may improve quality score, which lowers your paid search costs, so on and so forth. And this concept of integrated marketing is really essential today, and the people who do well organically via SEO, they understand this. And that's how they build their content programs and their marketing programs and ultimately their organic search programs. So we're going to show you how to do some of that very easily. And again, this will give you some lift and make sure that your efforts are really growing exponentially. And the integration among all of these different channels really benefits from two trends. The first is that more web users are consuming more of these in tandem, right? How many times are you at your desk answering email? You get up to maybe get a coffee, you check your phone, and now you're emailing from your phone. It's kind of seamless in terms of the platforms you use and the medium you're using as well. And also, many of these channels are directly and indirectly influencing each other, as we had just talked about. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to cover 7 what I call secrets to helping you drive more organic search. And this is largely dependent on what's currently happening in the market, meaning on Google. And I focus on Google because more than 70% of all search traffic goes through Google. Some people claim that it's as high as 83 or 85%. So you want to focus on Google, and I'm going to talk about what is happening on Google to really give you some better rankings. All right, and the first is building a well SEO'd website is important for building a powerful brand. And this is important because Google is favoring the powerful brands. Now, that doesn't mean if you aren't a large brand you can't compete. It means in your niche, how does your brand compare to related brands? Let me show you what I mean. This is a screen grab from a presentation back in 2011. And if you'll notice, the search car insurance quotes resulted in cheap car insurance, insurancequotes.com, Titan.com, AmericanFamily.com, so on and so forth. Now, fast forward to 2015, and here's what you get. You can see Esurance, Geico, State Farm. I'm pretty sure 5 of the 7 largest best-known auto insurers are ranking on the front page. Now, again, this is just an example, but you should think about your niche, your business. How does your brand stack up against those other brands? And that all begins with a well-optimized SEO site, all right? Here's another example, camping gear, a little more niche. So looking at all these, I really don't know many of them, but looking here, the only one I don't know is down here. I see Overstock and Dick's Sporting Goods and Walmart, Cabela's. So again, leading brands within that channel or industry or niche. All right, so what is the second secret? The second secret is that local search is driving local and national search engine results. Now, if you guys are in marketing or doing business online or trying to grow your own business, I am sure, without a doubt, that you've heard all this stuff about local optimization and local search. And many people, at least working on the B2B side, are dismissing it because, let's say, they have national reach or national business. And the fact of the matter is this move to local search, largely driven by the mobile phone, is impacting everybody's site. It doesn't matter if you're local or you're national. So let's take a look at this. I just typed in for a little restaurant, pizza in Princeton. I'm based in Princeton, New Jersey. And you see results in those search engines. And even if you're searching for a national something, a product, if there is some location, or if the search result is coming back based on IP targeting, it will deliver a local result. Now, what's interesting is these results are all driven from something called Google Places. In fact, they recently changed the name to Google My Business. So I would definitely, if you guys have a pad and paper handy, although you'll have access to the slides, I would write that down. It's called Google My Business. And only 15% of businesses have actually claimed their Google Places profile, which to me is like leaving money on the table. And I'm going to show you an example in a minute as to why, but that's something you need to do for your business, especially if you're a national business, because Google uses that to validate many of the other listings that they see on the web. All right, and this is what I mean. So when I do small business workshops or I go into companies and I talk to them about SEO, I always show this example because it's called branded search and it's for my company. And people always say, how do you get that big thing on the right-hand side that shows your company name and information? And the answer is Google My Business. So again, I'm not doing this to focus on a singular example, but illustrate for you how easy it is to own more real estate. Obviously, you want to have both non-branded as well as branded real estate, something with your company name, but you definitely want to take advantage of that. It's absolutely free. If it frightens you, go to YouTube, watch a video on how to start Google My Places. I mean, it's literally, it'll take you 5 minutes, and you need no prior experience, and you do not need to be an SEO guru to do it, okay? So definitely check out Google My Business and focus on local. All right, secret number 3. Sites dominating local are using data aggregators and data distributors. Let me explain what these are, and if you don't understand what it is, that's a good thing because hopefully you'll take what you learn here and go back and apply it to your business. But the concept of a data aggregator is essentially like what we used to consider directories in the old days. And the directories would be all of these sites that you could submit your website to, and they would post your website, maybe a little information about the site, and point back to you. Well, Google, with all the different Penguin updates that they've gone through, they have started to discredit many, if not most, of those directories. What they've replaced it with, however, are some of these more local directories. And you can see here I'm using a restaurant. I could use virtually any example and the result would be the same. And you can see here that this little bagel place, which happens to be in one of my towns, they went from literally looking like they were out of business to lines being out the door because they started using a data aggregator, which essentially told Google that this is a valuable site. It provided specific information that Google was looking for and really started to generate results related to not just their name, and the presentation today isn't long enough to go through this as a case study, but it's one of the case studies. But if you're looking for bagels, if you're looking for sandwiches, if you're looking for any of the stuff they sold, coffee even, this is pretty much what the results looked like for them. So all of this was created by a data aggregator, and I'll explain exactly how it works. All right, so this is how it used to work, and in fact, some people still subscribe to this. I no longer focus on this because, quite honestly, I don't have the time, and I feel like the results are mediocre at best. But if you understand how it used to work and how it works today, that'll give you some skills you can use to apply the best practice to your business immediately. All right, so this is how it used to work. You would have a website and you'd go out to one of these directory sites and you would submit your data. You'd have to find out where you could submit it. That data would be accepted by them and cleansed. So based on the form that you submitted, it would make sure it was I guess, acceptable. That would then be normalized against other data in the database, and they would essentially send it out to be validated, and they would validate your phone number and maybe your postal address and zip code. It would also look to match it against anything else currently in their database. They may use a third party to do additional verification and append your record with other things. Then they'd go through a compilation process to merge all that data, and then they would push it out and publish that to the site. Okay, now that process would literally take months, and it was haphazard. You would submit to some sites, they'd put you up. Other sites would charge you to have the information put up, and some sites would charge you and not even put it up or take so long that you never bothered to check on it. And that process would have to be repeated for each and every site you wanted your business listed on. Now, enter the data aggregator. These directory sites, which had to evolve because Google was going after them, said, all right, well, we're going to change the process, and we're going to develop relationships with only authoritative sites that list other businesses. So this could be City Search or local.com or a review site like Yelp.com, so on and so forth. And these data aggregators develop direct relationships with those sites. And the process today is much simpler if you use one of these aggregators, where you essentially submit your data, it gets accepted, they match it with any existing data to see what should be synced or overwritten, and then what they'll do is they'll use enhanced content. NAP is name, address, and phone number, but essentially they'll verify it, and then this one data aggregator will push your business information out across dozens, literally dozens of high-profile websites that rely on the data feed for their business engine. And Google relies on a lot of these sites to verify the information they have in Google My Business. Again, it goes back to having that initial listing, and also to help fill in search results for people who are looking for specific products, services, or businesses. All right, and that's the data aggregator. So that's one of the secrets you definitely want to take away and consider for your strategy. Okay, so number 4, even national and local sites are adding local pages and getting results. You know, this is something that I see with a lot of clients where they may be a national company, for example, working with a pool distributor. That pool distributor may say, well, you know what, we send pools all over the United States, so why would we, what good is local? What's the value of local? Again, the value of local is that people are, when they use their mobile phone, that's considered a local search because Google is trying to pair up their physical location with the search, or the search may have local intent. They may be looking to install a pool in, let's say, New Jersey, and they're going to type pool installers New Jersey, and if you're based in Idaho but you have teams or offices who are installing in that area, that is something that local search can give you a boost from. So even national companies are starting to add local pages to their website. And let me show you what I mean by a local page. This is an example of a company who's local to me here in Central Jersey, Cooper Pest Solutions. Now, it helps that Cooper is a great company. They've been around for a long time, fantastic customer service, in addition to great products and services of their own, but they very successfully deploy a local strategy. And the reason why is because most people have some sort of local search intent, and even though they may not, if someone just types in pest control, they're going to come up because they've built up so much authority and content on their website. So you can see here the first little thing was kind of the footer on their homepage, and this is another technique or strategy. Whatever you're linking to from your homepage gives that corresponding page a lot of authority. We call that link juice, and these are all internal links. Your homepage is usually the most authoritative page on your website, so any links you have going are really powerful and can add authority to other pages. That's why you don't want to have, you know, I'm going to call it yourwebsite.com/folder1/folder2/folder3, so on and so forth, because the further away from the root domain that you get, the less oomph or emphasis or authority that page has, and therefore is less likely to show up in search results. So if you are focusing on a local strategy, like with Cooper, it may be cooperpest.com/serving/ and then they put the page right there. Here it's Middlesex County. All right, so you can see that they've optimized their pages by leveraging kind of this home page strategy, having individual pages, and the results speak for themselves. So, again, local is important whether you're serving a very small area, a region, or even nationally, but you have customers in a given area. All right, so add those local pages to your site. Secret number 5, content is still king, but it must be yours. I had a conversation with a woman from Dun & Bradstreet who runs their social program, and we were just talking about content and content generation. And even though they're a company that has vast data resources, even they struggle with the right type of content to publish. And this is an area that has been growing. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of content management solutions out there, or programs, or people talking about content. But content is still king in the eyes of Google as long as it's unique. And the recommendation that I always make is to think about what you do that's unique, or the content or data that you can produce that's unique. I mean, here's the Wall Street Journal talking about gas prices, the New York Times talking about Ebola breakout, and this woman, Delana Bennett, talking about, I guess, what she did last night. Who even knows, right? But she's got links to Instagram and everything else. And really the message here is you always want to focus on what you do as a business or the market you serve and what content can deliver value. It's got to be unique to you. It's no longer effective to just aggregate and push out content. Here are some other examples. So AMA, American Marketing Association, is pushing out a guide to online proofing with a link. And, if you're a hiring manager with a position to fill, wouldn't you turn to LinkedIn? All right. So, again, you could ask a question. You could link to an asset that you have. And this all goes back to the integrated strategy that we talked about, where social media is lifting paid search is lifting organic, so on and so forth. It is all integrated. So whenever you're producing content, my recommendation is to host it on your website and point people back to your website. Okay, that's going to create inbound links that are earned. And this is a great pick. This is Rand Fishkin from Moz. If you guys are into SEO, I'm sure you know who Moz is, but it's a software application, and Rand speaks all the time. We've actually both contributed to a number of papers and interviews and things of that nature. He is a fantastic guy, great resources, very knowledgeable. And he says content marketing is about earning familiarity, trust, and relationship, and he is right. So think about how you can develop your most meaningful relationships, those with your customers and your market, through engaging content that only you can produce. All right, secret number 6, it is all about amplification. A lot of people tell me or ask me, well, all these social media channels, what should I be doing? Should I be blogging? Should I just be publishing information on my website? There's just so many ways to reach people today. What should I be doing? And my answer is all of them. And I say that not to be taken literally, although I guess there is some truth in that, but to be taken from the standpoint that you want to be wherever your potential customers are. And that's called amplification. It's taking a piece of content that you develop, and it could be something as simple as an article, and making sure that that article is very easy to follow, it's easy to share, it's easy to refer to other people. And one of the reasons I like Forbes, and I know that they're a leading brand with a lot of resources, I get it, but they also get it. They know that even if they were, johnsjewelrystore.com, if they were to publish content, they were going to make it really easy for people to share. All right, because it's that amplification, it's the multiplier effect that's going to help you from an organic perspective, because when one person sees it and likes it, they're going to share it with their network, which isn't just a one-to-one relationship, it's a one-to-many relationship. And this works. We know that when people share, and you can see here they're sharing across Facebook, Twitter, Google+, so on and so forth, it has a positive impact on results. There are other factors here, so I realize maybe Forbes is not an ideal example for a smaller brand, but you can see that they're relying heavily, not so much on links, because people used to think that links are everything, and we're going to talk about that on the next secret. But the reality is that this integrated approach between content and social and all these other channels are what's really making a difference. And you can see here, and this was within minutes of this going live. I know the screen grab took me a little while to get through, but the amplification has a pretty immediate and long-lasting effect. Even 3 days after that article was published, it was hovering in the first and second spot, depending on which day you checked it out. So I just Googled millennial money habits or millennials money habits, and there they are sitting right at the top above some of their closest competitors again. I thought this was interesting too. We kind of talk about social media and the social channels, and I thought this was interesting. It was in one of my feeds, and it said relatively few CMOs from the world's biggest brands are active on Twitter despite their companies being so. And my takeaway here is that you look at leading brands and you look at small brands, those that are most successful, the businesses are really engaging with social, whether members of that business are active or not. Okay, and secret number 7, and I left this one for the end because, a lot of people talk about links and the importance of links, and we're going to spend a little time talking about it, but the reason why links are so important is because this is the one thing that has changed the most. Google used to place a lot of emphasis on inbound links, and in fact, a lot of people subscribed to that, and they started going out there and buying links. And what happened? They fell flat on their face. Not initially, but over time, because Google got really smart to that, and they said, hey, if all it is about people acquiring inbound links, and there are a lot of places to get them, is that really going to help differentiate really the leading brands or the more engaging brands or interactive sites from others? And what happened was there was a whole industry of companies that were in the business of selling links. And if you wanted to buy an authoritative link, and back then Google was using a measure called PageRank, if you wanted to buy a link on a page that had a high PageRank, you could just go out and buy it. And over time, there were more and more of these sources, and eventually Google cracked down and said, no more buying links. This is ridiculous. You're going to need to find a more organic way to generate links. And a lot of people were penalized from this whole, I believe Panda was the first update where they started to impact links, and then Penguin 1, and then 2.0, so on and so forth. And it took many companies a long time to basically bounce back from those penalties. And I want to lay this out for you. You will get in trouble if you seek out links to rank better and try to acquire them manually, which is kind of a long, arduous process, and quite honestly doesn't even really work anymore. And it's certainly not how I would want to spend my time. A lot of people, again, will submit, pay, swap people for links. Hey, I'll put links on my site if you put links on your site pointing to me, and vice versa. And although, in some situations that may make sense, maybe you have partners, that's okay. But what I'm talking about here is kind of the old strategy of going out, buying links, paying for it. Google's smart, right? They know what sites have a lot of outbound links coming from it. And how they're using those links. So this is really the old strategy that will get you really bad links, low scalability because it is a manual, long process, and quite honestly, you could risk a penalty. If Google figures out what you're doing, the fact that you're trying to more or less game their system of developing quality inbound links, they could issue a penalty. And I've seen some businesses where they have literally had to shut down and rename the company something else because they were selling a lot of products online. They got hit with a penalty, and now they were not showing up organically. And in fact, even their paid search programs were impacted because the quality score was so low. All right, so this will definitely get you into trouble. You want to stay away from that. What should you be doing? And this goes back to the integrated marketing strategy we talked about earlier across different platforms. Start with doing things that are worthy of attention. And again, this is focusing on what do you do that's unique? Do you have unique content? If you don't, what type of content would be interesting to your market, and then go out and get it. Maybe do a survey among your customers, maybe hire someone to do some blogging for you, maybe even write some articles that would be of interest to you, and start sharing those things. And then you want to earn amplification, and one of the ways you do that is by making it really, really easy for people to share that information. And I can't stress that enough. You know, I visit a lot of websites, and I can tell you that not everybody's doing a good job of this. Oftentimes I'll read an article and there's no way to share it. So what do? I don't share it. So you want to earn amplification, and you also do that by pushing it out across social media or your media channels. All right? And then finally, when you do those things, links come to you naturally. People will want to link to the content. They'll want to take a look at what you're looking at. And it is that combination of doing things that are worthy of attention, earning that amplification, making it easy, and the links will come naturally. And that generally results in traffic. It also results in branding, getting your name out, and it will help with rankings. And what I want to do, too, is I want to differentiate. When I say traffic, I mean the right traffic. I've seen a lot of sites that are generating traffic through an integrated strategy, but if the content is not on topic, then it's generally not the right result. All right, so what happens when you start to integrate some of these strategies? What happens is you're going to see more organic growth and lower bounce rates, as well as more engagement. So this is a sample that I took out of an account we have in analytics. This is Google Analytics. If you guys don't have it on your site, please add it to your site. It's free and will tell you everything you need to know. But essentially, what we want to see when we start deploying this integrated strategy across all the different media is not only that sessions are going up, that more users are coming to the site, but we want to get them more engaged. And that's what's happening because we're getting people who are getting to the right content. And that's why you see page views increase. All right, so page views are really important to see if your content and amplification strategies are really working. All right, the other is you're going to see a marked decrease in bounce rate. If people get the content that they care about, that's engaging, that's valuable, they're not going to jump from your site. All right, so those are all some key metrics that you want to look at because those metrics are then going to give you feedback about your content. And again, this is not a webinar on Google Analytics. I guess, McKay, at some point we could always do that if the market is interested. But there are a lot of other metrics that will help you identify what pieces of content are driving the most engagement, where people are linking to you and your site based on that content, so on and so forth. All right, but I wanted to show you what good looks like so you could really understand how to evaluate whether or not your integrated strategy is being effective. All right, and here's just another show, if you will, same data, but you'll see that the majority of traffic for this site is now organic, and as a result, the business is converting at a much higher rate. So people trust organic rankings. It's more natural for someone to kind of flow through the purchase funnel if they're finding you organically. And again, even though that may be influenced through all of your marketing strategies, the fact of the matter is organic works and should be a growing part of your business. And quite honestly, part of this is just knowing where you're starting from. A lot of people don't even have a baseline. I ask them how many visitors they get to their site every month. They don't know. And everybody should know that metric. If you are in business for yourself, if you work for a business, if you run marketing or really anything online, okay? All right, so in the past hour, we talked about 7 strategies. What are they? Building well SEO sites are vital and essential for building a powerful brand. Again, think about your niche. You don't necessarily have to compete with a Fortune 500 company. Keep breaking your niche down to identify who your niche competitors are, and you want to build a brand that's on par, if not better, than what they are using a well-optimized site. Local search is driving local and national results. If you are a national company and you are ignoring local, then I want you to think again. Local is essential because mobile search is really driving the sea change in optimization. Top performers are using data aggregators to push their content out there, especially among small local search sites that Google is relying on. So if you need to know more or learn more about that, I'll tell you how you can do that in a minute. Build local pages for your site. It may be state pages. If you're a national company, build well, you want to do some keyword research to see how people are searching, but if they're searching for swimming pool installers in New Jersey or swimming pools New Jersey or whatever the case may be, then you want to build maybe state-specific landing pages that are unique to each and every state, all right? Content is still king, but it must be yours. Think about what you do and what you offer that's unique and start to build content around that can really make a difference for you. All right? And it's all about amplification. Once you create that content, what I want you to do is I want you to make sure that that content is amplified. And then finally, the link game has changed. If you do these other steps correctly, if you're developing engaging targeted content, you will start to attract those links. So think less about where you're going to buy links from or how can you kind of make this happen and focus more on the link acquisition through organic purposes. All right? And if all that did was improve even your local exposure, would it be worth it? Just applying one or two of those techniques. You know, would it give you the kick that you need to really get your brand moving? Because, again, we talked about the importance of brand and building that reputation up online. And then, lastly, if it just gave you a bump, 10%, 20%, 30% or more of organic traffic, would it be worth it? And the answer is, of course it is. So organic can't be ignored. There are, again, some small strategies that we've talked about here that you can deploy to really get that moving. Now, of course, the goal here was to show you how you could drive more traffic and do it without playing a guessing game. And that's why I laid out those 7 strategies for you. And, of course, I promised everybody at the beginning that if you hung in there, I'd show you a resource where you could get some additional information or ask some additional questions around SEO best practices. So I'd like to invite everybody. It's absolutely free resource. You know, I've been working with Conversa and McKay for a long time, so we'd like to make sure that you guys have answers to all the questions that come up on webinars and other dialogue that we have. But I encourage you to check this out. I'll give you the URL in a minute. But, you know, we talk about how to choose and implement data aggregators, how to publish optimized content across many social channels, how to optimize any website with really little or no SEO experience. So a lot of the things that we talked about here, we can kind of talk about in our own little community. So feel free, you guys can check that out at myseomadesimple.com. It's the sister site to the book SEO Made Simple, where we cover all of these strategies. The book is obviously available on Amazon, and you can also sign up for SEO email updates on that site as well. So if you'd like to stay on top of things, see what's new and different, that's available. The other thing that I wanted to mention, again, in partnership with Conversa, is I like to make myself accessible. So you guys can feel free to follow me on Twitter, @mfleischner, which is available there. The other thing that I'd like to mention, too, is there's a new app out that's kind of all the rage right now called Periscope. And I do 2 marketing, not podcasts, but they're broadcasts essentially, every day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, where we talk about online marketing and optimizing sites and generating more organic traffic. So be sure to check that out if you're not on Periscope. And with that, I know we have a lot of questions coming in. So, McKay, I think I'm going to throw it back to you for a little Q&A.
Awesome. Thanks for the webinar. That was great. Okay, let's go through. We do have a boatload of questions. So here's what we'll do as well. You see Michael's Twitter handle there, and you can also email me. My email was on the registration page. It's mallen@conversa.com. So if you didn't get any of these questions, if we don't get to all of them, which we won't, just email me or Michael, and we'll address as many as we can. Okay, so what are some of the aggregator sites you recommend, Michael?
So there are a number out there, ranging in price. Personally, there are, let me give the names. So there are two that I recommend in particular. One is Moz, M-O-Z, which is really SEO software, but they also have a local option where they work with all of the really 4 big data companies. So that's a low-cost option that I recommend. The other is Yext, which is more expensive, but it does let you publish expanded information about your website. So those would probably be my favorite two. Others folks could check out would be UBL, Universal Business Listings, and there may be some others, but those are the ones that come to mind.
Great. Let's see here. All right, is it better to claim your local listing site by site or go to one site that is partnered with several sites? Does that question make sense, Michael?
Yeah, and really there, again, that's kind of the data aggregation model. And just, by way of how things have evolved with Google and online, I strongly prefer the data aggregator. It just gives you more control and more publishing power out there on the web, as opposed to going site by site. It's just, it would take forever, and quite honestly, it's pretty sketchy at this point.
Okay. Talk about the quality of leads you get from various sources. So, obviously 82% of clicks come via organic, but do you have data that shows that leads from organic are better than leads from paid search, for example? Is there any data that you know of that points to that?
Yeah, definitely. So the data that I'm looking at is obviously data that I've acquired over many years across many companies and industries. And really, to be honest with you, the best leads are referrals. But following referrals, organic search seems to be the best in terms of a web or digital lead. It really all depends on your funnel in terms of how well optimized your paid leads are. But all of those are kind of in the same bucket in my, from my perspective. They just can't compare to the quality of an organic lead.
Yeah, our data shows similar. When you're talking about phone calls specifically, lead scores for AdWords-related leads are not as high as organic lead scores for organic calls. So yeah, it's I agree. Organic is where it's at. It's just a matter of getting the clicks. Okay, let's go through a couple more. What if a company doesn't have a physical address? If it's wholly online, someone asked, does that impact you with Google? Or do you need to have a physical address associated for Google to list you?
It's so interesting because that question always comes up, and my immediate answer is whether you're doing business online wholly or not, you still need a physical address, even if it is what used to be called a P.O. box. Now they're called virtual mailboxes, but you could kind of rent an address from a company like Regus. And the reason you need that is because Google My Business needs a physical address to send a postcard to, a verification postcard, and they want to make sure that you're a legitimate business, right? Most legitimate businesses have an address where they receive invoices, where they, have a home base. So if you are a completely online business and for whatever reason you don't want to list your house, you can rent a virtual mailbox.
Okay, interesting. Let's see here. Yes, a lot of people are asking if the webinar is being recorded. It is being recorded. We're going to send you that recording tomorrow morning, so watch for that in your inbox as well. And the other thing I'd say about the webinars generally is please tell your friends, colleagues, etc. about them. We'll have a hashtag for you to use tomorrow on the webinar, so we can actually talk about the webinar on Twitter as well. Okay, a couple more questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry, Mike.
yeah, and McKay, I was going to say a shameless Conversa plug there, in the sense that I have to admit to everybody on the call, I tune into these webinars and I listen to some of the other experts McKay has on, because what you can learn, over your lunch or whatever. I mean, a lot of these guys come on and what they have to share is very applicable to my business. And you can't be an expert at everything, so it helps when you're listening to some of these, really just leaders within a given area give some tips and strategies. So I encourage people to continue to tune in.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Okay, you mentioned Google prefers a strong brand. That you said that was a quote. According to Jeffrey, I didn't keep track of it, but Jeffrey did. He says, what makes a strong brand in the eyes of Google? So if Google prefers a strong brand, what makes a strong brand? Or is it just the names that you would know if you were talking about a specific industry?
Right. So, so a little bit of both, right? Within your given industry, like currently I'm doing work here at Caliper, and we're in the human resource assessment business, right? So we're all about helping companies hire and develop the right employees. And in our niche, there's really only, 6 companies, and imagine meeting somebody at a party who is from your niche. If you were to say your name, would they recognize you? Would they know who you are and what you do? And that's essentially what you want to be able to create online for your specific niche, right? So if you're selling baseballs, you don't want to really compete against Cabela's or Dick's Sporting Goods or, one of those companies. You want to compete maybe around other baseball manufacturers, for example. And the way that you create that strong brand online is really using all of these integrated channels, meaning if someone goes to Twitter and they're doing a search, they can find you. If somebody goes to the web, they can find you. If somebody's doing a local search, you've used data aggregators, they can find you. And a lot of that begins with a well-optimized site, some basic SEO strategies. Obviously I talk about it in my book, SEO Made Simple, but you guys could also go out on YouTube or do some general research to find out what those things are. But by doing a lot of those things right, it really helps you to be pervasive when people are searching you through any digital channel.
Good point. Okay, final question for you, Michael. So in terms of on-site SEO, so I think you explained super well, like the link building, what to do and not to do, etc. In terms of on-site stuff, I mean, is it really about the metadata and the title tags? What else can people do on their site to gain clout in the eyes of Google?
Yeah, so well, you touched on 2 really important ones, and oddly enough, when I go into large companies to talk about SEO, not all of them do that well. So don't overestimate the power of metadata. Those are title tags and description tags. The other thing is on-site, believe it or not, having a well-organized site where things are easy to navigate to goes a long way. I believe that is definitely part of Google's algorithm. Are people finding things they need to? Are they engaging with the site? And a lot of that comes down to basic fundamentals. Do you have a simple-to-follow navigation? Do you have a site map accessible through your site so the Googlebot knows where all the pages are? Does the site load quickly? Is the URL structure easy to follow? So on and so forth. And there are probably 30 or 40 things that you can do. But those are the big ones. Again, think about the user experience. Is it easy to find things on your site? Can people get there quickly? Does it give them the information that they want? So on and so forth.
Makes sense. Awesome. Michael, thanks, man. We appreciate it. Everybody, thanks for attending today. We will send you an email tomorrow that has the webinar recording attached to it. Also, I'd encourage you, as Michael said, register for our other webinars as well. Tomorrow, for example, we have a webinar titled 7 Biggest AdWord Truths that advertisers don't want you to hear. It's with Andrew Lolk, who is the CMO at White Shark Media, a very large AdWords agency. So we're having the organic side today and the AdWords side tomorrow. So you should be covered there. That's at 2 Eastern as well. So, Michael, thanks again. Any last thoughts?
No, just special thanks to you, McKay, and Conversa, and I will definitely be tuning in throughout the summer for all these great guests you have on. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day and a great afternoon. Bye-bye.